New patch, many buffs. Let's talk about the 5 comps I will personally use to climb on TFT in patch 13.14. So as usual, I already wrote the guide on Tacter.com. You can access to it, it's completely free, and out of transparency, it is also the sponsor of my channel. So to start right away, and I think this is going to be the hottest topic, the hottest comp of the new patch, and I also think there will be a B patch to tune it down a little bit, is Karma Invoker. So I think you have 2 ways to play it. The first way to play it is exactly like I show. You play with 6 invokers, you reroll for Tariq and Karma, and you claim your first place, basically. But I do think this comp will be heavily contested because it's just too strong and so many people want to play Tariq, who became a 5-cost unit for the cost of 3. So instead, I think maybe after a couple of days, when people start to catch up and play this comp in like 2-3 times per lobby, it's going to be better to play as a fast 9 comp, meaning you just roll a level 7, find Karma 2, find Tariq 2, and then after you fast 9, you push level 9, and you play around Ari. So you put the stuff on Ari, and you try to snowball and win the late game fight. Ari got buffed as well, so she's going to be a very reliable late game carry. The second comp I think is going to become very strong in this meta is still around Tariq because it's a 5-cost unit for the cost of 3. And I also think that Strategist is no longer going to be the comp if you want to play Lux, but rather around Sorcerer. And the other part I really like about this comp is like since Cassiopeia got massively buff, it's actually easy to have a good transition from early to mid game to late game. With the blue buff, you put that on Cassio, then after you put on Karma, and then finally you put that on Lux, so she can have full mana at the beginning of the fight and melt targets. The third comp I want to talk about is Deadeye Moonboy. So Aphelios got buffed, 5 AD doesn't seem like a lot, but it's almost 10% on every damage, because let's remember that Deathblade scales based on base AD, same for Giant Slayer, same for all the AD items. So basically, when you have a full stuff Aphelios, everything is buffed by almost 10%. So really not underestimating this. And I think we will have 2 ways of playing it. So this one, I showed here the new way of playing it. But obviously, the Freljord version with Sejuani, Ashe, Lissandra, and Shen, it works perfectly well. I'm pretty sure it will work well. Here, I think we have another alternative, which is more around Targon. Because obviously, we still have the 5-cost unit that costs only 3. And then after, we have 2 Targons, so Aphelios and Soraka, who got buffed as well. Every Targon unit got buffed. And also, we are using extremely good synergies. One thing I want to say about this, you probably saw the last video I made, and why I love RC on Urgot. I think this just makes Urgot extremely strong. If you play this version, you need to have Last Whisper because you don't have Freljord. So you need to have something that can remove the armor. I think our Urgot is excellent for this. He can easily remove a lot of armor around him, and he can dash behind tanks, and he can also remove AoE armor in AoE, so Aphelios can do his AoE damage. I just realized that the sun is actually on my face right now. It looks kind of weird, but don't really pay attention to this. Okay, let's talk about Zeri now. I do think Zeri is going to be back, but I don't think Zeri is going to be as good as she used to be at the beginning of the set. So let me explain. Zeri got buffed drastically. It's a significant buff. Honestly, let's be honest, that's a huge buff. But I don't think she's strong enough to be a solo carry like she used to be. So instead, what I do think that will make her work very efficiently is if you have robotic arm. So that's one of the zone mode that gives her a 50% chance to have an additional attack whenever she attacks. So basically, it's a lot of attack speed, thinking like this. And because of this mod, she will get a lot of attack speed. You don't need to build a Ginzu. Instead, you can go very offensive with Last Whisper, IE, and Guardbreaker. I really like the Guardbreaker because it allows her to have 100% crit, but also, as you can see, I'm 100% confident we'll have Tariq in a lot of comps. We have Shen, we will have a lot of shield, so I do believe Guardbreaker is going to be a S tier comp for the next patch. And then once you have your Zeri, you want to play around her, basically. You want to have 4 gunners, you want to have a good and solid front line, you want to have Morello and Lissandra to help her melt the targets. So I do think this is good. You can also play with 4 zone if the mods are really great. So you can play Urgot like this as a secondary carry. I think with these 2 comps, I think we have a lot of small variations there and there. And it's up to you to adapt to whatever you hit or whatever zone modes you get, this kind of stuff. So I think these 2 comps are going to be fun to play. Okay, the light should be a bit better now. Let's talk about the final comp. I think this one is kind of a bonus because there's a lot of uncertainty. So if you remember about the patch, we have Cassio that gets buffed, Malzahar gets buffed, Cho'Gath gets buffed, Renekton gets buffed massively. All of them, like these buffs are really massive. They kind of deserved it, except maybe Malzahar. But yeah, they definitely deserved it. And I think there's a huge potential to play around these champions as 1-cost reroll, especially if Kayle is still alive. We might have people like Kayle removing a lot of Poppy, Maokai, Kayle, and whatever unit out of the pool, so it will be even easier to play with these units and find them. So this is very experimental. If you don't like to play creative, if you don't like to experiment and you just want to climb fast without taking any risks, I suggest you not to play this comp at the beginning of the patch and wait if there are people succeeding with it. If that's the case, then after you can go for it. If you don't see anyone succeeding with it, then don't play this comp. It just means that you can lose some LPs. But anyway, I want to talk about this comp because I do believe there's potential to have an excellent 1-cost reroll comp with Cassiopeia as your main carry, Renekton as your main tank. Your off tank is Cho'Gath. Actually, if you have Cho'Gath very, very early, you can even want to put items on him so he can stack even more HP and become a monster in very late game. And Malzahar, like I said, has insane base damage, has utility by removing half of the shields with his ability, and he can be an excellent second carry, or at least he can be a good support with Static Shiv and maybe some chalices, things like this. So to play this comp, you want to reroll a level 4 for Renek, Cho'Gath, Malzahar, Cassiopeia, and then after you just want to add 4 Breezers as fast as possible. 4 Breezers getting buffed, so you should get an insane mid game with it. And after, I think this is the moment when there's a lot of different variations that we need to try to make sure what's the most optimized version of it. But I think, for instance, if you had 2 more Bruiser, that gives a lot of stats, 70% max HP on all your Bruisers. So I do think this is going to be great in the late game. But I think also you might want to try with Shurima, Noxus, this kind of stuff, just to make, or more Sorcerers, to basically make your comp even more powerful in the sense that they will deal more damage. But here's the thing, this is not enough, because obviously in TFT, everyone knows that if you're successful in TFT, you are also successful in life. Everything happens, like when you're a climb master, suddenly your father comes back from whatever thing he was doing for 15 years. When you climb master, you can start to talk to your crush with a lot of confidence because you know you can impress her properly. And when you climb master, you also have the recognition from the president of your country. So think about it. Think about it. So this is why, to help you climb master and get all these benefits in life, I have made a free newsletter every week. I send you to your mailbox the 5 comps I'm gonna play for this week and the 5 comps you should focus on if you wanna climb fast to master. I do make the scouting, I do check the pros, I do check the analytics, and I put everything in a very easy to read newsletter so you can just play the game very easily and just not focus on spending 15 hours on Soju and try to figure out the meta. With that being said, you might want to watch this video as to why I absolutely love RFC on Urgot. It just transformed him into the semi-DPS, semi-tank, into a DPS tank, whatever, sniper. He's just absolutely insane. So check this video and see you at the top of the ladder.